All right, so we are going to go over the worksheet. It's section, what is it, 8.4? 8.4, and it's the worksheet. And it's page, what's the page number on that? 10 what? 3? Okay. All right, let's start with number 9 first. Is that all right? I'll do all 6 of these. So write them down. If you didn't get them yourself, if you had no idea what to do, or if you kind of had an idea but you weren't really sure, write the stuff down. Okay, don't just turn this into me just with a number answer by it, because I will mark a lot of points off for this because I'm going over every single one. So make sure that you show your work. Some of you guys have never seen that on your homework. Who has never seen me write the words "show your work" on your homework assignment? Has anybody never seen that? 1, 2, 3 of you, 4. Okay, that's good. That's a good thing. Right? Who sees it every single time they get a homework back? I won't ask. Yeah, you don't have to admit that, but there are people that pretty much do see that. And what else? What other special thing do you see when it says "show your work"? Minus whatever, right? Sometimes minus 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever I think it takes. All right, here we go. Everybody ready for this one? This is super important. This is one of the 2 most important things that you're going to do on this trig stuff. All right, this is really good stuff. You're going to be taking Algebra 2 next year, most of you. Hopefully, we'll be taking Algebra 2 next year. And you're going to have 2 chapters, actually, on this stuff. Okay, the second chapter is quite a bit more complicated, but the first chapter basically covers this stuff. So whoever teaches you Algebra 2 next year, I have no idea who it's going to be, but I want you to be able to go into it and say, oh, yeah, we did that stuff in trig. Now, I don't expect you to know how to do everything the first day you do it in Algebra 2, all right? Because, I mean, you forget a lot of stuff. But at least it should be a little familiar to you. And you're like, oh, yeah, I remember him doing this. I remember us doing that. And, yeah, okay, that's not so bad. Hopefully, this will take a little bit of the fear away when you see it in Algebra 2, all right? So let's take a look. We want to solve for x, is what we're trying to solve for, this thing right here. So we use the angle that they give us. They give us a 36-degree angle. This is the angle that we're going to use. Now, if you wanted to, I guess you could use this angle over here, couldn't you? But then you'd have to figure it out. But you could, all right? You could figure this out and figure out what this angle is, and then go from there. But let's just use the angle they give us. Might as well. Now, if we're using this angle right here, what sides do they give us? Well, they give us this one. They don't really give it to us. We have to find what it is, don't we? So what is this side to this angle? It's opposite. So I'm going to write opposite right there, just so I remember. You don't have to do that, but I don't know. At first, when you're first learning this stuff, I think it might be a good idea to write the word opposite here. What's the other side they give us? The 7. What is this side right here to this 36-degree angle? It's adjacent, so I'm going to write adjacent next to it. Again, just to trigger my memory a little bit so I see what's up. What's our little mnemonic device that we learned? So what? Ka toa. SOHCAHTOA. Everybody remember that, right? If you don't remember SOHCAHTOA, then you sure haven't been paying attention in my class. Are you guys with us there, Anthony? Okay. So let's see which one are we going to use. What do we have? We have opposite and we have adjacent. Which one of these uses opposite and adjacent? Right. And a lot of people say TOA, but it's not really TOA. It's what? It's tangent, right? It's the tangent. So we're going to use tangent. When we do this stuff, I get people all the time saying, well, I don't know which one to use. How do you know which one you're supposed to use? Well, you use the one with the information that they've given you, right? You use, if they give you opposite and adjacent, can you use the sine? No, because you don't know the hypotenuse. Can you use the cosine? Nope, because you don't know the hypotenuse. Can you use the tangent? Yep, because they give you the opposite and the adjacent. Or at least you're trying to find the opposite and they give you the adjacent. Everybody with me on that? That's how you know which one to use. I don't think it's that hard to figure out. As long as you know opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse, and all that stuff. So what do we take the tangent of? Do we take the tangent of 7? Do we take the tangent of x? What do we take the tangent of? Always the angle, right? The 36. So you always take the tangent of the angle. Same thing with sine and cosine. You always take the sine of the angle, cosine of the angle. Never ever take the tangent of one of the sides or the legs of the triangle. Everybody got that? Only take the sine, cosine, or tangent of the angle. I'm saying that a lot because guess what? Year after year, students try to take the tangent of 7. You can't do that. It doesn't make any sense. You can only take the sine, cosine, and tangent of the angle. Well, what's that equal to? Opposite what? Over adjacent. Right, that means over, right? Opposite is x over the adjacent, which is 7. And now you got it set up. Okay, you've done all your trig right now. Now it's just basic algebra. You got to get x by itself. So how do we get rid of the 7? You multiply both sides by 7. Look here. I'm just going to cancel it out. Right? I know if I multiply this side, it cancels out, but I have to multiply this side as well. That's all the math there is. That's all it was. Setting it up, doing one little thing to solve for x, and now you plug that into a calculator. It's that easy. It really is. A lot of people see sine, cosine, and tangent and just freak out. Oh, I'll never be able to do this. I saw this in Algebra 1 and I never understood it. I'll never be able to do it. No, it's actually pretty simple. It just looks a little complicated because you see these weird TAN and SIN and COS, and you've never seen that really before, and it looks real strange. But really, if you break it down, it's really not that hard to do. And now we can figure out what this is. Now, we can do this in the calculator. Now, some of you guys have a calculator like this. Carol, let me see your calculator. Nice. Hers kind of looks like that TI 30XA, doesn't it? But this is like blue, and this 30XA is kind of grayish looking. Do you see the difference? They're scientific calculators. This is not a graphing calculator. This one right here, the one that Carol has, is blue one. It's still a scientific calculator, but look, it's a little wider. See the display? You can actually get 2 lines displaying on this, whereas this calculator right here is just 1 line. If you have one of those calculators with a 2-line or more display, you would punch in the numbers just like my graphing calculator. If you have one like this, then you're going to have to do things a little opposite. Okay? So let's plug the stuff in. So on this calculator, you just hit 7, then you hit tangent, and then you hit 36. All right, it equals, and there's your number right there. It says to round it to 2 places, so what's that going to round to? 5.09, right, because that 5 rounds that 8 to a 9, so 5.09. So x equals 5.09. What do we just find? We just found the length of that side right there. Does that make sense? Why what? Okay, on that calculator, I don't have one on the computer. I don't really have, I've looked and looked for that type of calculator. But what you would do is you would hit 36 first. That would be the first thing you punch in. So put 36, then hit tangent. That's the second thing you punch in. All right, and you get some decimal number, don't you? All right, and then you hit times, and then you can hit the 7. So you kind of go backwards, right? So on those calculators, you always hit the number first, and then you punch the function. Okay, hit the function. On a graphing calculator, do it the other way.
I'd like to ask Courtney Landers to come to the office, please. Thank you.
Courtney, you must have won the prize. Is that what it is? So, yeah, on that calculator, you kind of go backwards. You hit the number, then you hit the function. Now, you could do it another way. Try this. If you have this calculator, you could hit 7 times, but then you're not going to hit tangent 36. What are you going to hit? 36 tangent. Try that, see if it works. Then you're going to have to hit equals, though, after that's over. So hit 7 times 36 tangent equals, you should get the same exact number. That 5.08, blah, blah, blah. You should get that number right there. Do you? I don't think you're punching in what I'm telling you to punch in then. Hit 7 times 36 tangent equals. Okay, you didn't hit the equal sign, right? Right. Yep. What? When she gets back. All right, everybody with me on that? You guys think using your calculator is no big deal. It's really simple and easy. But it kind of is. But you got to make sure that you know how to put the numbers in. All right, if you don't know how to put the numbers in, the calculator is not going to help you at all. All right? It's not always as straightforward as it used to be, especially with this tangent stuff. Everybody got that? All right, let's do another one. I'm not going to explain the next one near as long as that one. Since that was the first one, I figured it took a little extra time with that. All right, this one looks like this. Looks like that, and looks like that. All right, and we got a right angle right here. And oh, wait a minute, I'm looking at the wrong page. I'm sorry. Yeah, it does look a little different, doesn't it? This one looks like this. I was looking at the worksheet you're going to be doing tonight. All right. Looks like this. That's a 12. That's an X. That's a 63. I'm going to go a little faster on this one, all right? So if you think I went a little too quick, go back and watch the video and you can pause it and everything else. I'm looking at the angle they give me, which is 63. And I look at the two sides. This 12 is opposite the 63, and this X right here is actually the hypotenuse. Somebody in another class said, well, it's adjacent to the 63. Well, technically it is. You're right. It is adjacent to it, but it's also the hypotenuse. So which one do you use if one is the adjacent and the hypotenuse? You always use the hypotenuse. Well, I'm saying if this side right here was both adjacent to this and the hypotenuse, you still use the hypotenuse. Okay? Always use hypotenuse. So now, right, it's opposite and hypotenuse. That's the sine, right? So, katoa, right? You got it? So we take the sine of the angle, sine of 63, is equal to the opposite, which is 12, over the hypotenuse, which is x. Now this arithmetic, or this algebra, is a little trickier than what we just finished doing. But we talked about this the other day. Remember this? X is on the bottom, so we need it on the top. So I'm going to take it from the bottom and put it on the top of the other side. Well, this sine of 63 is on the top. What am I going to do with that? I'm going to switch places. Exactly right. I'm just basically going to switch places with these two. All right? Put the x on the top, put the sine of 63 on the bottom. You see that? And so what do I get? I get x equals 12 divided by the sine of 63. And now you can put that into your calculator. So let's do that. Again, make sure you do it correctly. On this calculator, you do it exactly the way it looks. You hit 12 divided by sine of 63. You hit equals, and there's your answer. 13 points. We're going two decimal places, right? 47. Is that right? 13.47. Now, if you have the TI-30XA, guess what? You're going to go 12 divided by what? Not sine of 63, but what? 63 sine. But then what do you have to hit? You got to hit equals, right? Because if you don't hit the equals, all you have sitting on your calculator is a sine of 63. Hit equals, and you should get that 13.47. Are you getting it? Make sure you practice, okay? You really, really need... Sounds weird that you have to practice using your calculator, especially coming from me, because I always tell you all the time you should be able to do stuff without a calculator. With this stuff, absolutely you need a calculator for it. So make sure you use it. All right, let's do another one. When do we get out of here? This is 5th, 140. Oh, okay, we got time. We can do them all. I still got to try 3 through 8 though, don't I? But I don't think that's quite as important as the stuff we're doing right now. Alright, looks like this. That's what, 15 degrees? That side's 12. And they ask you to solve for this, which is x. Tell you what, I'll give you about 30 seconds. You work on that one. Alright, what do we have here? What is this side to that 15 degrees? It's what? It's opposite. What is this side? It's hypotenuse. We've already done this once already, haven't we? What is opposite and hypotenuse? It's the sine, isn't it? So it's the sine of 15 is equal to the opposite, which is x, over the hypotenuse, which is 12. Multiply both sides by 12. Plug that in your calculator and you're done. See how quick that is? So if you know your trig functions, it's pretty easy. 12 sine of 15. There it is. 3.1 what? 1. 3.11. Did you get that? Pretty easy, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. Alright. So we've done 3 of those. We had to find the length of the side. This time we're going to find the length of the angle. Let's do this in a different color. This time we're going to find the measure, not the length of the angle, I shouldn't have said that, but the measure of the angle. How many degrees? That's what we're looking for here. All right, so they say this is x degrees. We don't know what it is. This is 18 and 6. So the hypotenuse is 18, and this side right here is 6. All right, let's think about what we're going to do. What goes with, let's go orange and green. Is that anybody's colors? Orange and green? Nobody has that. I guess they don't match, do they? They don't have green. Yeah, but orange and green. Does anybody have orange and green? Nah. Nah, they're blue. They're blue and orange. And the Denver Broncos are blue. I don't know anybody that's orange and green, do you? If I start a new school, we'll be orange and green. I don't know. Probably be pretty ugly. Well, I won't be starting this new school anytime soon, though. All right, so here we go. I don't know. That looks good, don't you think? Yeah. So let's do it. So what do we got? We got this side, which is what to the angle we're trying to find? Opposite. I'm getting tired of this. Why do they use this all the time? Seems like they should use something else. This is what, the third or fourth time we've done this? Opposite and hypotenuse is what? It's the sine, isn't it? So the sine of what, though, this time? X, right. It's the sine of the angle. This time we don't know what the angle is. We knew the angle in the other three. This one we don't know what the angle is. The sine is the opposite, which is 6, over the hypotenuse, which is 18. Now, the first time we did this, I think it was like 2 days ago, the first time we did this, this is the kind of problem that we did. We want to get x by itself, so we have to get rid of the sign. How do I get rid of that sign? Do I divide by the sign? No, that wouldn't mean anything. I take the inverse of the sign. So it'll cancel out here, but then I got to take the inverse sign of the other side. You remember taking it to the negative first? That's the inverse sign of 6 over 18. It's the inverse sign, not the actual sign. So on your calculator, what button do you hit? Second function, then the sign, okay? So when it's signed to the negative first, you have to hit the second function. And now we're ready to go. That's all you had to do. All you had to do is just get rid of the sign, make it inverse sign, and then punch that stuff in your calculator. So on this calculator, this is how you do it. You put it in exactly the way it looks right here. You hit second function sine. See that? They even put the negative 1 on there, don't they? Of 6 divided by 18. So put 6 divided by 18. And then punch that in. And they say to round this to just a 1 decimal place for the angles. So this will be 19.5. So x equals 19.5. There it is. It's pretty easy, isn't it? You really didn't have to do any algebra at all. All you had to do is get rid of that sign. And once I got rid of that sign, took the inverse of it, pretty easy. Let's do another one like that. Excuse me. All right, they got this one tilted a little bit. That's okay. Shouldn't be that big of a deal. Let's see what we got. 12 and 15. So that's 12 and that's 15. This is the right angle right there. And you're looking for this angle right here. Okay? So this is the angle that we're looking for. Look at the two sides. Let's mark them. Do you like doing that? Marking them? I've never done that before, actually. This is the first year I've ever actually put that on here. But I think it might be a good way for you to do it. What is this 12 to this angle x right here? It's adjacent, right. So I'm going to put adjacent right here. What is this 15? It's the hypotenuse. It's the hypotenuse. I mean, technically it is adjacent to this angle because it's right next to it. But if it's the hypotenuse, it's the hypotenuse. You know what I mean? Okay, it's never going to be the adjacent. It'll always be the hypotenuse. Now, look what trig function I have. I've got adjacent and hypotenuse this time. Which one uses adjacent and hypotenuse? The cosine, the ka, right. The cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, right? After you know that SOHCAHTOA, that really helps, doesn't it? Yep. So let's do that. Let's use the cosine then. Since we're using C, we're using the cosine. So it's the cosine of the angle, which is x, equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. The adjacent is 12, and the hypotenuse is 15. Now, how do you get x by itself? Inverse. Good. Take the inverse cosine All right. So let's do that. So on this, I hit second function cosine, then I hit 12 divided by 15. Make sure you're practicing on your calculator. If you have a different calculator than I'm using, make sure you are getting the right answers. And this is 36.9, right? If I round it, 36.9 degrees. How do you do this on your little TI-30XA? You don't hit inverse cosine first, do you? You hit the number. Hit 12 divided by 15 first, then hit equals. All right, everybody's doing that? 12 divided by 15, hit equals, you'll get a decimal, and then you hit second function cosine, and you'll get that 36.9. Make sure you're getting that. Practice it. Make sure you're practicing. Don't just look at it and say, oh, it's a calculator. How hard is it to use a calculator? Okay, but sometimes you got to know the right way to put the numbers in. We good with this? Carol, yours works like mine, doesn't it? Where you hit the inverse cosine first? Yeah. Does anybody else have one like that? I got a couple graphing calculators. Okay. But make sure you know which one works, you know, how it works, because that's very important. All right. Let's, I got one more to do like this, right? Might as well. I said we were going to do all 6 of these, so I'll stick to my word here. But I still need to look at that other little section we haven't really talked about. All right, there's my right triangle. This is x down here. That's 19 and 22. All right. Kind of liking this orange and green combination. Do you like it? What are we going to use? We're using this angle, aren't we? So what is this side to this? It's opposite. What is the 22? It's adjacent. So which trig function? Tangent, right? TOA, right? It's the tangent. So we go the tangent of the angle. We don't know the angle. We'll call it x. Is equal to the opposite, which is 19, over the adjacent, which is 22. Do the second function, right? I always like to write it out. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I like to write it out. And then you just plug that into a calculator and you're done. It's that easy. So it's the second function tangent of 19 over 22. And that's 40.81. What did I do? They're wrong.
That's what x is, but you're trying to find angle B.
Oh, that's right. It does say that. It says angle B. I've been finding angle x the whole time. Right. Yeah, you're right. So this is 40.8 right here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, they actually ask you to solve for angle B. It would have been nice if I would have read the instructions, wouldn't it? And I tell you guys to do that all the time, and I didn't. Okay, so if this is 40.8, how do I find this right here? Taken away from 90, and that would be 39.2, I think, right? Yeah.
Like 49.
Or 49, sorry, I did my math wrong. 49.2. And what was the other one? Number 13? Did I do that wrong?
No, 13 is right because x
Okay,
is
so
angle
x is angle B.
12 is
Oh.
70.5.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, you found this angle, and you're absolutely right. And you could do that. That's a good call right there. Look, we were actually trying to find angle B, weren't we? Okay. Yeah. So that was my fault for not reading the instructions. I just assumed we were solving for x, okay, and I shouldn't have done that. But that's a good lesson for you kids. All right, learn from my mistake. I didn't do that on purpose, but it kind of works out that way. So watch. What if you wanted to find angle B directly, right? If I wanted to find angle B, what would I do? I'd say the tangent of B is what? It's opposite over adjacent. But this time, which one's the opposite to angle B? The 22 is, isn't it? And which one's the adjacent side to angle B? It would be the 19. And that actually works out to give you 49.2. Everybody with me on that? Yeah, and I messed up on number 12. I told you it was 19.5. It's because, again, I can't read instructions. Well, I can. I just didn't. Right here. I found what this was, but this was actually angle B. This is what you were trying to find. So that's my fault. So 90 minus 70.5, or 19.5 is 70.5. It's a good thing you said that because the other class I didn't get that. I got a worksheet to give you, so keep that, hang on to that, and I'm going to give you a worksheet and finish that tonight.